welcome back to the channel, and today we're actually going to do something extremely exciting because it is one step closer to getting the CJ5 out on the trail. Now this is a 1980 CJ5. It's got an AMC 20 in the rear, so if you caught my other video you saw me putting an Auburn e-locker in the rear. Well, today's the front turn, and it is a Model 30. It's going to be slightly different than the AMC 20, but we're going to show you some of the ways of actually getting it done. Now, if you see any issues with stuff that I'm doing, please comment down below. It's not only going to help me out, it's going to help out everybody else as well. So let's make sure that we're going to give the right information out to all the viewers, in case you want to do this yourself. So as we go along, we're going to tell you all the tools that you're going to need, the techniques you're going to use, what websites to go to for some information. Like one is differential.com. I do like going there. It actually will tell you exactly what your torque specifications, your backlash, your preload, everything. So you should be in good shape. There's also some parts that you're going to need other than just the actual locker itself. You got to have rebuild kits, so you need bearings and races and seals and everything else, but we're going to go over that one by one. Drop drive shaft, leaf springs, and pull it out and get it on some jack stands so you can actually see it better. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get dirty. All right, well, there's the carrier, still in one piece. So once I actually drain the oil, it's gonna take a little bit, and so I'll drain that out and pull everything else apart. So be back here in a minute. All right, we're gonna go ahead and tear down the ring and take the ring out. We're gonna take the pinion out. One thing you definitely need to do is mark your caps. They have to go in exactly how they came off. And that's right to left, up, down, or whatever. So what we're gonna do is actually grab a punch, and I'm gonna punch the carrier and then the bracket as well, and then we'll know exactly how to put it back in when we're ready to put it back in. It is shaped a little bit differently, and it does set, load, and all the other good stuff, so keep that in mind. Where's my punch? Actually, you could use a punch or just take a picture of this. There you go. Where's my camera? There you go. Now we know where it goes. All right, got everything already torn down. Relatively easy. I only had to use the hammer a few times, but it's all done and it's all in pieces now. So a couple things you need to realize when you actually take this apart is actually inspect everything. Now, you do have seals. You got one on this side, you have one on that side. The kit does come with new seals. So the next thing we're actually going to do is actually going to get that race out and get my bearing out of the other side. Now, the one thing I would recommend getting is a bearing puller. These things work great. So get the bearing out, get the seal out, get the bearing out, and then clean up everything, because any dirt that's in there is going to mess up your readings. So clean it out. Clean out your axle shafts, seal everything. Clean it all up. I'm going to use a bunch of brake clean and also a air nozzle, that type of stuff. Go ahead and get everything out, but get the races out and get cleaned. All right, so I got my races out. I'm gonna keep the one that was on the inside. I'm gonna keep that out, only because I want to shave down the edge of it to actually make a fitment bearing, basically, or a race rather. This is actually supposed to be pressed in. We want to shrink it down enough to where we can go in and out, because we need to check our shims. But anyway, cleaning time. Yeah, you don't need to see me clean. I'm just gonna throw crap everywhere. All right, so here is the Auburn locker that we're actually going to be installing today. This is an electric locker, and I know a lot of people are going to comment about this not being a true locker, but basically how it works is that electric current comes through here. There's an electromagnet in there, which actually will push down on some clutches, which will lock it up both right and left. Now, A or B air lockers use air to actually basically move a sleeve over to actually lock it up. Some of the other ones do the same thing. This one right here is actually rebuildable. You can just pull this off, put another one on there, and then you're good to go, and you can keep going. Due to the fact that I've only got 100 horsepower into this thing, I don't think this is going to be a problem, but hey, you decide. Put it down in the comments what you think. I always want to hear about it. So here's the next problem that I have. Got my ring gear. I went in and took it off the old carrier. The only problem is with this electrical carrier, I cannot get it on. So I did flip it on the other side, and actually all the holes do line up, so it seems to be the correct one. All right, so got a confession to make. I did have to massage my ring gear just a little bit. I actually took the hand grinder and just grind this down. Now, if this was your main drive ring and pinion, I would not recommend doing this. Figure out a different way. I did try to get the clutch thing off. There's got to be a way. I'm running out of time, so I just clearance this. The only time I'm actually using this, low speed over some rocks, stuff like that. Doesn't exactly hurt the stability of this thing, but always clean it. I'm gonna get ready to clean it now, but it does fit over there. So here's my problem. This guy here has electrical wires hanging over it. Well, if you look down here all the way down, this is about the same size as that. So I couldn't get the wires in there without pinching. So I did take a grinder and grind that down. Now, in order to get this guy on there, there's a couple things you need to do before you even get that done. Take yourself a file, a flat file. Now, go all the way around your ring gear. Make sure there aren't any burrs, anything. That's going to give you a false reading. Also, even though this thing is brand new, take it and go across the edge as well, just to make sure there's not any burrs. I've already done it to both of them, and they both feel rather nice. So the next thing we're actually gonna do is first clean everything, and then I'm gonna get my torch out because we need to heat this guy up, because this is sort of like a press fit, and we don't want to press it on there. We're gonna heat it up and use science. That's right. And then we're gonna be able to place this on there. Now, before you actually put that on there, you gotta be ready, because you gotta be quick, right? So your rebuild kit should have brand new bolts. Now this one, just like the other one, has brand new bolts. And it also comes with some Loctite, red Loctite, little biggy baggy. I'm actually gonna use my other stuff that's up on the wall. Go ahead and Loctite all your bolts. So as soon as you're ready, you pop it on, start using your bolts. Now, in order to pop it on and make sure that it is nice and straight, this is kind of a thing that I did last time. It actually worked pretty well. So I got a couple of drill bits. So I want to put those down into the holes. That one fits, so I'm just going to demonstrate with this one first. Wow, this really sucks doing it by yourself. It's all right. All right, so you're going to take your drill bit. So just put two in there, and you're going to put one in one hole, one in the other hole. And what that's actually going to do is actually, as you're trying to get this guy on and get it to spin, you're going to put that drill bit in one of the holes. So as it drops down, and it should be lined up before it cools off. And then all your other bolts should fit in there right nice. All right, one thing too, make sure you use non-chlorinated brake clean if you're going to be heating this stuff up, because you don't want to die. And also use a metal table. Don't use a wooden one. Yeah, so now it's on. Now it's time to torque all the bolts. Make sure you have Loctite on it. Make sure everything is clean. Go ahead and secure it like in a vise or something like that. Just make sure you can still spin your clutch over here. And also, when I put this thing on, and as soon as this thing was warm, I put some tape over the wires just to make sure so it will not melt them. So anyway, these bolts here, I went to differentials.com. And they give you all the specs for everything. So on this Model 30 here, it is 55 foot-pounds for every one of these bolts. Now when you do it, go here, 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 here. Always do a cross, and you should be in good shape. All right, we should be all set to actually take it to the next step. And what I'm gonna do is actually show you exactly what I've done to get to this point. And hopefully it will make your life a lot easier. But first, I'm gonna get some gloves. 1 second. All right, got my gloves. Not that I'm a pansy, it's just it helps with the cleanup. And the stuff gets everywhere. Anyway, so what I did was actually so this is your pinion, and I tore everything apart, cleaned everything up. Now, this bearing right here is the old original bearing. So I'm gonna keep that around. This down here is the old original bearing, and I was able to get it off. And as you can see, it slides on and off. And I took a little die grinder and actually cut out the inside a little bit so that it can go on and off, because you're gonna take this thing on and off a lot of times. Excuse me. So, and what you got to do is actually I actually took the inside race and ground down the outside, so that will slip in and out of the housing with ease, because you're going to be taking this guy out. Because in this particular one, it takes shims behind the race. So it's going to sit just like that into the housing. So I want to put that in there. Now I've already figured out a bunch of stuff, but on this particular one, and I recommend go ahead and get a digital caliper. And I actually got this from Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap. But anyway, so as far as the shims, we're looking at about 6,000 shims. Hopefully that's going to be just right. Well, we'll find out. So make sure it is nice and clean. Everything clean, right? So anyway, I'll take my bearing or my pinion. Oh, nope. Let me take my race and put my race in. There we go. Now I'm going to take my pinion. Ooh, spins beautifully. All right. Now on this particular side, I'm going to go ahead and put my upper bearing in, but I'm not going to put the seal or anything like that because we're going to be taking this thing on, off, on, off, on, and off. Then you're going to put your old nut. Don't put your new nut on yet. Put your old one on. All right. Now you don't want to ramrod this thing in there. We want to get it to where it actually gets a little bit of resistance. And then we're going to take an inch-pound torque wrench and check the preload on those bearings. Now on this particular model, with the ring and pinion that I have in here, I do not have a crush sleeve, and my kit didn't even come with one, so I'm not going to put one in. All right, so check the preload on it. You're going to use your socket, put it up here, and now this is an inch-pound torque wrench. And what we're going to do, and actually it's going to be really hard to see way up there. Let's see if I can pull it down. And then basically you're just going to rotate it around. And actually that was right on the money. That is 20 inch-pounds. All right, so when you do that, don't jerk on it. Just have a nice little steady pace and then look at the needle. Right now we need 20 inch-pounds. That's 20 inch-pounds. All right. So now we're going to move on to our carrier. Now I do have to admit, I did have to grind down the case quite a bit in order to fit this thing. Now on this particular locker, on the Auburn, there you go. You have magnets and stuff like that inside here, and clutches rather. And that right there is a little bit bigger than normal. So you need to make clearance. So I had to grind down on my case, my bearing cap, quite a bit in order to actually clear the case. Now I try to have, I gave it at least like 30 thousandths or so. I mean, just enough so when it does swell, when it gets hot, it doesn't actually dig into it. Now on the carrier itself, I did the same thing. I pulled the old bearings off the old carrier very carefully. I did use a bearing puller kit. Worked out okay. All right. Now the good thing on this is that now it goes on and off with ease, and that's what you want to do because you're going to be taking these out a lot. Because now for these particular shims, which that's what they look like, these are putting these in between the bearing and the actual carrier itself. On the AMC 20, we put them on the outside. On this one, we're gonna put it on the inside. You only got 3 thousandths on that side. Actually, it's 3 thousandths on both sides. Yeah. So, anyway. All right, so I got all my bearings in, got my, my shims in there. Now, if you don't know what shims to put in there, you put your bearing, you put your carrier in with no shims whatsoever. Put a little pry bar on one side, push it over, and measure with a feeler gauge or whatever how many thousandths that you would need. So once you get that number, then you can just divide it in half, put half on this side, half on that side, and then that will be a good starting point because you're going to be taking this thing apart many times. Take a shim out, put a shim in, that type of thing. But first thing we're going to do is put this thing together so that we can check teeth engagement. There you go. So you're going to put the tip of it right on the edge of the actual ring gear. And then, all right. So once you're all the way to the end, there we go. Now you want to zero it out. Now these things are very sensitive. Now I just pushed 0, it zeroed out, but just me touching it moved it 2 thousandths of an inch. You're going to hold the pinion, and then you're going to rock the carrier back and forth, and you're going to read what the swing is, and that's going to be your backlash. So I got 0 right now. So if you look on that, it goes from like 2 to 10. So we're roughly around 8 or 9 thousandths of an inch of backlash. It's pretty much right exactly where we want to be according to differentials.com. All right, so if you had too much of your backlash, let's just say it's like 15 or it's 20 or whatever, what you want to do is actually get that ring gear closer to the pinion. So you're going to take out a shim from the one side and put it right behind the carrier, or right behind the ring, to be able to push it over. Now go ahead and work at like thousandths of an inch. That's the main reason why we hog out the inside, so we can take the bearing off, so it's a lot easier to get these things on and off. So now what we want to do is, since we have everything where we need it to be, your backlash is great, your preload is great. Now what we get to do is tear it all apart, clean it, put in some seals. Now before I was just going to use the same seals that I had because they're in really good shape. But then that would be a disservice to you guys and girls. So I decided to go ahead and put in new ones. Now these are actually very important. You have a new slinger, which is going to go on your pinion. And then this right here is actually going to go right behind your yoke. So this actually keeps the oil from being soaked up on the, on the seal. So make sure you put those in. So yeah, let's blast it apart. So if you look right down here, I'm going to try to get you down there. All right, this is what I had to clearance. So as you can see, I can barely put my screwdriver in there. And then I'll rotate this. And it gets pretty close, but it does not touch, which is great. It was getting kind of annoying because it kept rubbing. So anyway, I took a angle grinder, ground it all down. It's got plenty of beef on there. You're not going to destroy it, so you're fine. So anyway, let's tear it apart, put some seals in. All right, this seal right here is actually going to go right into this side, and of course we have one for the other side. And how we're actually going to do that is I grab a socket that will not pinch the inside, but actually will fit right in there perfectly. So that's the one I'm actually going to use. So what we want to do is actually sit it here, and I'm going to try to do it by myself, but we'll see. All right, so on my all thread, I just put a nut and a washer, which will help me guide it. Just don't mess up your other seal. Then get to the end and whack it. Bam, now you have two brand new seals. And hopefully they won't leak. All right, next thing you want to do is actually put all your shims. Now keep a track of where your shims are, because all your numbers were spot on. And you really don't want to have to take this thing back out again. So make sure all your shims are down into the case. All right, now you want to take your brand new race and stick it in there. Now there's a couple ways of actually driving this in. One, you can get a bearing race driver, which looks like this. All right, so this is my driver. I did pick up an entire kit, and it comes with just about every size you're gonna need, except for the one you need. But that's okay, we got a backup plan. All right, and when I say that it's not the one you need, because if you take your puck and it's flat, they do have some that are actually curved that actually fit perfectly into these races. I don't have that. So anyway, if you look in there, I am not on the edge. I'm on the inside of the edge. But that's okay, because you still got your old race. So use it. All right, you gotta make sure it goes in perfectly straight though. Beat the crap out of it. But make sure it goes in straight, because if it doesn't go straight, it's gonna warp it, and then you're in trouble. And you gotta do it all over again. So grab your other race and do the same thing to the other side. All right, so I got the races in, got them both, got my shims underneath it, so we should be in good shape. So now it's time to put our bearing onto our pinion. Now make sure you actually have a metal table when you do this, because I'm going to do it with heat with my torch. So check it out. Make sure you use a glove. Bam! See, easy as that. Don't get it too hot, just because you don't want it to warp anything or anything like that. But as long as you don't do it too much, you're fine. So now, I'm going to let this thing cool, so then it will actually stay up there. And then we'll put this thing together. All right, so we got both our bearings in there. Now the top bearing is actually a press fit. All right, so you can put your washer in, and what that's going to do is actually sling the oil all the way around into that bearing, because the oil comes up here to the side. So now you need your seal. All right. Now one of the things that they do give in this kit is some gasket sealer. Now this is black silicone. Now I got some other ones that I'm just going to use the stuff that I already have, because it's already open. All right, so these seals right here, this little, I don't know, orange stuff around the edge, that's actually a sealer. I have the tendency of just adding just a little bit extra around the edges. Nothing too thick, just enough, because I don't like leaks. I'm tired of leaks. You can grab yourself a mallet. There you go. All right, she is ready for your yoke. Now what you might want to do, I'm going to grab a little bit of lubricant. Now you can use oil. I would probably recommend oil. I'm just going to use some little WD-40, because you don't want to have that seal dry, because then it will tear it and mess it up. So yeah. Bam! Now put your new nut and washer on. Not even close. All right, we're going to try this for the third time because I keep having camera issues. All right, we're going to check the preload on the pinion bearing. So we're going to put our socket up there. We're going to get our inch-pound torque wrench. And what we're going to do is actually take this and spin it all the way around. Nice even spread, and then look at the number. And we're looking right at 12. We need 12 to 15 inch-pounds. We are right on the money for our preload for our pinion, and that spins beautifully. So much better than the other one. All right, so it's time to actually get the bearings onto the side of it. Go ahead and get rid of your old stuff. Put them over to the side so you do not get them mixed up. It's gonna be kind of hard to mix them up, but you could. Anyway, so you got a race over there. And so we're gonna do the same thing with this guy. We're just gonna heat it up and it should be able to drop right on. Now also keep in mind of your shim pack. Make sure your shim's there and everything you need to have to get your numbers right. So grab a hold of my welding glove, my torch, and let's start heating. All right, once you got both of them in there, watch out, it's gonna get warm. Don't burn your hands. All right, so you have two different types of keepers. See which one actually works for your type of case. So basically what you're gonna do is actually take one of your bolts off, and then we're gonna put one of your little keepers on there, and there's a little groove right there that this little keeper is gonna go in there and keep this from spinning. Now that's very important, because you don't want this thing to be spinning all the way around. All right, sometimes you don't really want to be doing this late at night, because then you forget stuff. I forgot a very important step. How are the wires going to get out of this case? I haven't drilled a hole yet. That's annoying. All right, let me get everything set up. We're going to drill the hole. Gosh, I'm an idiot. All right, we're back. It is another day, because after I made that mistake, I don't really want to make another one, so I slept on it. I actually went to the trails today. It was awesome. Check out that video. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and drill this. Now, I do have the pinion still in there. It rotates really well. So as soon as I start getting close to the other end, I'm going to flip it over and actually do it the other side. So hopefully all the shavings will just drop out. I can't believe I did that. But anyway, go ahead and step it up. So I got a small bit, I got a medium bit, and then I have my 7/16. Now you need a 7/16 because you need to have a 1/4 pipe thread, which I have a tap for that one. And if you want to see how I tap it, check out the other video. I'm gonna go ahead and drill this real quick. All right, everything is back together. My hole is drilled. I went ahead and tapped it. Go ahead and put my insert in there. Now be careful, there is a rubber O-ring on there. If you tighten it too tight, it's just gonna fall out and then it's gonna leak. You don't wanna do that, so just kind of tighten it just enough. Also check your all your settings. Make sure your backlash is still where it needs to be. We did set them with the temporary bearings. These bearings might have a little bit of tolerance difference from the factory. So far, it is coming out really nicely. I got, let's see, that's -1 to 5, so that's like 7-ish. Yeah. Yeah, about 7 thousandths. That's about right where we want to be for this particular front end. I still have really good preload, and now we got to do the wires. All right, so from the factory, it's going to come up with a little dinky little plug, just like that. And what we're going to have to do with that is throw it away, because you don't need it. Because they have this little guy. I'm not sure why they just don't put this in there initially, but hey, whatever. So go ahead and take your connectors off, and then feed your wire straight through the little rubber grommet. And be careful with not to damage the wires, because that would suck. There you go. Once you get your wires in there, go ahead and push it all the way into the housing. Then you got your little plastic insert. Make sure that goes on. And then once you get that pushed inside the plastic, push it into the housing. And then you got your little cap. That goes on. And then go ahead and tighten it up. Now what that's going to do, now you are watertight. So water should not be getting in here. So there you go. Now you're ready for wiring it up. All right, there it is. That's how you properly put in an Auburn electric e-locker into a Model 30 for a CJ. But yeah, it moves beautifully. I'm gonna wait for the RTV stuff to dry and then put some fluid in it. One thing about the fluid though, since this is an Auburn locker, read the instructions, please. Do not use synthetic oil. They do not like it. It's written all over the book. Do not use synthetic oil. Basically, you should use basic 80-90 weight in the diff, but you also have to put in their additive. Don't forget to put the additive in there. You put that in, and then you put all the other oil in there, and then it'll mix up, and then you're pretty good. And this is just for the clutches and stuff like that. So don't forget to put that in. So anyway, the only thing that's left for this guy is actually I'll put the axles in and stuff like that. I'll do that later. I'm gonna go ahead and do that and get it underneath the Jeep, and then we get to wire it because we still have electrical connections to make these things work. I'm gonna do that on another video because I got 2 of them to wire. And this video is already getting way too long. So anyway, check out all the other stuff. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will catch you guys later. Peace. I got lockers.